As you can tell, it requires the removal of 3 screws here, here, and here. So I'm going to remove this. As you can see, this thing is basically kept together, held together by the 3 screws that kept this whole plate together. But as you can see, it's totally broken. It totally needed a new plate. But what I want to do is really take this apart and see what's going on down here. See if I can fix the attachment between this knob, the knob that was here, and this pole there. So I'm gonna actually pull this thing off and go from there. What I've realized I think needs to happen is that I need to remove this piece first so that this piece can kind of come down and out. So now that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to remove these screws here and go from there. So after removal of those screws, it looks like this whole unit can just pull out, and I'm hoping that I can then kind of push this in and then out under and pull it out from under this area. So see if I can do this with one hand. Just going to pull this out and under, so there that is. I don't want to really mess with that right now. And here with this climate control piece, I'm thinking I can just, again, I may need 2 hands, so bear with me here. There's another little chunk of plastic that just fell out from messing with this thing. So I basically have this thing out, but I noticed that one of the things that's keeping this part just being really stubborn are the cables back here that are attached to this apparatus that move the little flaps when you want heat and fresh air. So I really need to take these cables out of that area. But before I do that, I want to make sure when I put this back together that I know which cable to put where. So I need to label these. So this is turning out to be pretty much a big challenge, a challenge bigger than I expected. I noticed that there also now, this is my first time really taking this apart, there are some wires here that are connecting this piece to this piece. I don't want to mess around with those. And I'm thinking, what if instead I just take this piece off so that the cables stay attached to this arm? So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So I was able to remove that little arm, and I'm going to have to remove the cables. I also need to remove the wiring harnesses back here. Looks like I'll need a screwdriver or something to leverage some of these so they can pop out. But I'm getting close to getting this thing out. So here are the 3 wiring harness plugs that were in the climate control unit in the back. Thankfully they're different sizes, so I don't have to memorize what goes where, and there aren't any additional holes here, so I can just pop them back in when I am done. Alright, so good news, bad news. Good news is I am able to pull this thing off pretty easily. Bad news is when I was playing with it, I broke the wires that were attaching this part of the unit to this part of the unit. I'm assuming these 2 wires had to do with some sort of light. Maybe they lit up this area. So I'm gonna have to, when I get in there and investigate, I'm gonna see what these 2 wires were doing. So anyway, I need to label the 2 cables so that when I put it back, this guy will go where it's supposed to go, and this guy goes where it's supposed to go. So I'll just tie a little twist tie to one of these guys and just call it 1 and 2, so that I know that this is number 1 and this is number 2. Alright, so I labeled this guy number 1 and this guy number 2, and I'm probably going to remember this, but I just put a little twist tie here to indicate number 1 and number 2. And I'm going to take the rest of it upstairs and work on it there. But I'm going to put all this together, put this back, and put this back, and then I'll take a look at the climate control unit and in the light and go from there.